Guys, this game doesn't suck. I know it's a complete shock. I mean, I picked this game up on a buy two get one deal, and this was the free one because I didn't know what else to get at the time. There was nothing else out, so I was like, all right, fine, I'll get this game. But I played the alpha, I played the beta, I played the demo. Everything that I played about this game just screamed at me as cash grab with the Final Fantasy name just slapped on there just to get a few extra sales. And then it was a technical disaster with graphics that were on par with some mid to late 7th generation games. And on top of that, they ripped the animation straight out of Neo and Neo 2 without even enhancing their engine or anything specifically for this game to give it its own feel. And finally, I'm sitting down to play it right now. Guys, I'm in complete shock. I mean, we're going to talk about a turnaround that's like, I feel like many people just gave up or didn't even try on this game. And the sad part is that, you know what? This is actually better than Neo 2, which I played and couldn't get through because there was no reason for that game to exist. A prequel to the first game, you know, they basically copy and pasted the gameplay with some slight variations. You can now, you know, become a yokai and do all these extra big summons and battles and stuff like that. It's like, okay, fine, but it didn't need to exist. It just felt weird that after, you know, after so long of a development time for the first Neo and it coming out and it being, in my opinion, a really solid game, you're going to follow it up with a sequel that's actually a prequel, you know, to the game storyline. It doesn't have any of the character development and stuff that we saw from the first game, and it's missing a lot of, it's just sort of a slight enhancement on the gameplay element of what the first game was. It just felt very uninspired to me, Neo 2, and I couldn't get through that game. It was gruelingly difficult, as was the first Neo, but I didn't even have an interest to like push myself through it. And you guys know me, I'll force myself at times to get through games, and you know, even if I'm not enjoying it, I'm just like, all right, fine, I'm just gonna get through this, and I'm gonna cross it off my list. I beat the game, whatever, it's done, I'll never go back to it. But I couldn't do that with Neo 2. I was expecting no different here with Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Orange because, again, everything that we played about this game was just a technical disaster. And I'm playing the game now, you know, what is it, almost 6 months from launch, and my God, I'm in complete shock about what I'm playing. Not only does it look like they've improved the graphics, you know, they've completely fixed all the technical elements. I mean, it still doesn't look amazing. You're looking at it now. It still doesn't look that amazing, but all the issues with the frame rate completely gone. You know, the game's like a perfectly locked 60 FPS now. It has some dips when things get super, super hectic, but like what game doesn't, you know? It also looks like they increased the resolution. So no longer are we playing at 1080p here on our 9th gen consoles. You're getting what looks to be, you know, 1440p or even a little bit higher. So the resolution's increased, the assets look improved, and I went back and I actually looked into this because I was like, what happened here? Because again, all the reviews pointed out the technical shortcomings of the game. You know, Digital Foundry did that video like a month later after the game came out, and it was still like, you know, it still looked like it didn't really change much from the demos that we played. And it turns out that back in July, like late July, early August, they released a mega patch for this game that just seemingly fixed all the issues that I just told you about. They completely rewrote their anti-aliasing algorithm, so there's a huge reduction in the amount of jaggies. Again, it also looks like they've increased the resolution. They've completely smoothed out the frame rate. Even people in the comments were like, wow, you know, the gameplay's so much better now. And I think this is across all platforms of the game because they're talking about adding DLSS support for PC and all this extra, you know, stuff that just wasn't there when the game launched. And it's like now you can actually enjoy the game for the gameplay. So I've been playing this game and it completely surprises me because I thought this was a Neo clone. I mean, yeah, the animations are kind of ripped straight out of Neo, but it has enough going for it where I think it's actually a better game than Neo 2. It has its own identity, and I can actually get through this game and have a relatively good time playing it. Wow, what a shocker. All right, I want to talk about the gameplay first because this is something that actually kind of surprised me. It is on paper a Soulsborne style game, right? It is kind of like that. It plays very much like, you know, Elden Ring and Dark Souls and all that stuff. It's that type of style of game, that type of style of combat. However, there's a lot of things that they changed with the design element of the gameplay that actually makes it so much more forgiving that they've completely taken out the frustration of the difficulty element that, you know, is been sort of a brick wall that it comes to the Dark Souls game design, and that's actually prevented, I think, a lot of people from trying out those games, even though, again, they're not impossible. I just played Elden Ring, went through the entire game in 95 hours, and, you know, did everything I could. Love the game. I did my gameplay impressions and talked a lot about the difficulty elements of these games and how, you know, it's about trial and error and really sort of just understanding the strategy and being cautious when you're playing this game. For starters, with Strangers of Paradise here, there's a difficulty option at the beginning of the game. So if you want to play this on easy mode, there is actually a casual mode for playing the game. I think they just call it story mode, where you can kind of sit back. The combat isn't as challenging, and you know, you can just play through and kind of enjoy the story element of this game and just the levels and whatnot. And then they have an action mode, which is what I've been playing on. It's kind of like your normal difficulty mode. It seems to me like that's the mode that they fine-tuned the game for. And then they have like this hard difficulty. I think it's called Nightmare difficulty or something like that, where, you know, it's probably a lot more punishing. I didn't play the game on that mode, but, you know, you'd be dying in a few hits there. It's probably more in line with a Souls game. Then they also patched in a new Chaos difficulty when you beat the game, which is supposed to be extremely hard, and I suspect it probably falls in line with Neo and those type of games. The point here is that there are difficulty options at the beginning of the game. The second thing I want to say is that you don't lose anything when you die. There's no like upgrade points or, you know, souls to collect or anything like that when you defeat an enemy. You won't lose anything when you die. There is an experience system, but even when you get killed, you'll still retain your items and you'll still retain all the unlocks and stuff and the experience that you got basically from playing through the level in the game up to that point. It's not like everything gets reset and then you have to go kill the person or find out where everything dropped, where you last died. That's not an element in this game. The only thing that happens when you die is that it respawns all the enemies and you spawn at your last checkpoint area, and then you just sort of just try again. So there's no frustration there when you actually get killed and it's like, oh great, now I have to go and find my stuff or else I'm going to lose it forever. It just stays with you and all your unlocks and stuff as well. So it's very interesting, you know, it's like a Souls-like formula, but they've taken out a lot of the frustrating elements and stuff that I think a lot of people were deterred by, you know, when it comes to a Souls game in terms of you dying and then losing all your stuff and having to go find it again, or else, you know, you lose it forever. You know, that's not an issue with this game. You can just sort of play through it and enjoy the levels. And then, yeah, when you get killed, you just kind of go back and, you know, try it again. You know, it's very typical game design in that respect. I also want to say, even though I'm playing this on the action mode, the game is really not that challenging, to be honest. Here's the thing, though. I've been playing this game without doing any of the side content. I've been doing this purposely because I figured with this game, what is going to be enjoyable, what's going to keep it refreshing, is that you're going through and experiencing new parts of the levels and areas and just progressing through the main story. So I just opted to sort of stick to the main story path, and you want to know something? It's actually been pretty enjoyable the whole way through. I've been experiencing new parts of the levels. This game has so much variety in terms of actually where you're fighting and where you're playing it. You're seeing a snowy region right now in this video. Before this, I was like fighting in a volcano with lava, and there was puzzles with like the fire and stuff like that. This game is so interesting to me in terms of a level design and a story because it jumps from fantasy to sci-fi in like a moment's notice. It's like one moment you'll be fighting this giant mech like it's Metal Gear or something, and then the very next level you'll be in the mountaintops fighting this dragon, and it's just like, you know, what the hell is going on in this game? It just drags you from left to right, and it's like there's so much chaotic shit happening in this game, and it's got basically everything that it's hilarious at times. And I enjoyed it because it's just the pure insanity of the design. The writing is so hilarious. You know, the little bit of story that we got from the demo and the alpha, beta, and all that type of stuff, it was like, okay, this is just, it's bizarre, it's weird, you know, these characters are very, you know, cliche and just uninteresting. I mean, I was right there with you guys. I played this shit. I was like, okay, this is kind of, you know, hilarious, but not in a good way. I'm not going to say they turn things around, but there is actually a twist in this game a little bit later on that actually did surprise me. Again, my expectations were like in the dirt for this game. So the fact that I was even getting a plot twist at all, like, completely surprised me. But it's actually a decent plot twist at that. And you want to know something as well? The story is competent enough where you actually know what the hell is going on. You know, I loved Elden Ring, but I don't really know exactly what the hell was going on, you know, in that game. It's like, okay, you know, I played all the, you know, I played Dark Souls, I played Bloodborne, I played Sekiro was a little bit more story focused. It was like, okay, generally you kind of got the idea what was happening there, but it's like, you know, the FromSoft games, you had the Surge games as well, and Lords of the Fallen. You know, those did generally a slightly better job, I think, than the more backseated element of the story in the Souls games. But guys, you know what's happening in the story. There's actually tons of cutscenes. Some of these are in real time, some of these are not. They're not on quite the caliber of what you're kind of used to with the Final Fantasy license, but hey, there's a general story going on, and the writing's so bad that you just kind of go for it, you know? You just kind of go with it. It's like the character just, like, he jumps from, like, you know, 1 to 11 in like a heartbeat's notice. It's like all of a sudden he's pissed at something. His motivations are, you know, present. They're known to you. But he's such a shallow character. In fact, all the characters in this game are such shallow people that it's hilarious because the melodrama of what you're typically used to in these Japanese style games is like so rampant in this experience. It's you just can't help but smile and just laugh, and it's like, okay, fine, I'm going to just enjoy this for what it is. And again, if your expectations were extremely low like mine were, there's actually a plot twist towards the end of this game that will actually surprise you. You know, it's not incredible. It doesn't bring this game from a 5 to a 9, but you know, it's there, and it's like, okay, fine, they tried there. They actually kind of succeeded. They got me. There is also another thing I have to give credit to Team Ninja for. In this game, and specifically all of Team Ninja's games, the input latency is like damn near responsive. Their games continue to be the most responsive games in the genre, and it's no different here with Strangers of Paradise. It's like, okay, you know, the game doesn't look that amazing, but damn, when you push a button, it does it instantly. There's no wait time. There's no, you know, issue with waiting for the animation to play out or anything like that. It's just, it's responsive, it's instant, and it makes the game feel so much better to play because you like know that you can be like at the last possible second, and if you get the input right, if you time your attack right, then you got it. It's gonna come out. Guys, you know, I'm not going to make excuses for the technical state of this game and how it was. You know, if you played the alpha, demo, beta, you know, whatever, or even if you played this game at launch, if you go back to it now, it's like almost a completely different game. This has to be one of the most profound changes I've seen in terms of the actual playability of a game and in terms of the technical aspects of it, because now you can just enjoy the game for what it is. And on the surface, it's not as bad as the demo and all those, you know, tests that they did made it out to seem. And in fact, you know, the state of the reviews, it's much better than it was at launch, and all those issues from a technical aspect have been alleviated. The story's still stupid, the writing is still hilariously amateurish at times, and the graphics, while improved, there are some textures in here that look like they're right out of the PS3/360 days. You know, in a way you can kind of appreciate the direction that they're kind of going for with that, you know, whether or not that was intentional. I just think that their engine needs a complete overhaul, and honestly, Team Ninja, what are you doing? You know, you guys used to make the great Ninja Gaiden series. It's like those games were you know, really good at the time. Ninja Gaiden 2 was pretty graphically beautiful when it came out for the 360. So like, why are we sitting here on the next generation of consoles? You know, we're actually 2 years into basically the 9th generation of consoles, and your games still look like, you know, they came out in 2013. You need to change something. Even Neo looked better than this, you know, at times, and that game had a really troubled development life cycle. So that's saying something. Again, massive improvements that they've done to both their anti-aliasing algorithm. It looks like there's reflections as well have been increased in quality, and the entire resolution of the game is much higher now. So yeah, it's a much prettier looking game than it probably was at launch, and much better than the alpha, beta, and demo that I played. But it's still like, if you look hard enough, you'll notice that yeah, there are some textures that look very oddly low res, and it's not this game on console because the PC version doesn't look any better. So Koei Tecmo, Team Ninja, like, you guys need to overhaul your engine. Like, it's a bit ridiculous now. You know, you can kind of forgive it when it comes to Neo 2 because, yeah, it was developed pretty quickly after the first Neo, and Neo had a troubled development life cycle. But here we have, you know, your newest game that came out 2 years into the 9th generation of systems, and your graphics are just like distractingly low quality. Like, it doesn't even look like it belongs on the last generation of systems at times. So you need to do something here. We need a complete engine change, and you guys just need to get to work on that, because what I think you have here is a solid formula that is super responsive and plays well. Like, I enjoy playing the game, you know, but we need a complete overhaul here. We really do. So Strangers of Paradise is not the big turd that I was led to believe it was. In fact, if you watched all the reviews back when this game came out and you're like, yeah, there's no way in hell I'm playing this game, it just looks like a cash grab. Honestly, you know, I'm not a Final Fantasy aficionado. I don't really care about the franchise. I got into it very late, to be completely honest. This game isn't that bad. Here's the kicker, though. I mentioned a little bit earlier about the length of this game. I just played this game like a straight linear game. You know, I didn't do any side missions. I just progressed the story and stayed on the story path only. This game is 15 hours. Yeah, 15 hours. I was like in shock. I'm like, wait a second. It's not that long of a game. You mean it doesn't overstay its welcome? No. In fact, it's actually very enjoyable at 15 hours because you can get through 3 or 4 different areas, and there's probably around closer to 20 or so in the game. You can get through like 3 or 4 of them in a few hours with relative ease because, again, the difficulty isn't that bad. And again, it's enjoyable because you're getting story cutscenes. The style of the game, you have to go into it with like low expectations and just understand that you're going to be getting a really cheeky, stupid plot, but it's still going to be a complete story nonetheless. It's not going to sit there and leave you hanging, and you're going to actually understand what's going on in the narrative. So I'm a bit embarrassed to say, but I enjoyed Strangers of Paradise. Final Fantasy Origins. I never thought I would say that after playing all of the technical tests that this game had, but here I am saying it. And to be honest, you know, I'm actually glad I played the game because, you know, it's nice to be surprised every once in a while. So that's it. I just needed to talk about this game and get my feelings out because, man, I was just not expecting that. So all right, I guess if you played the game, please, if you actually played the game at launch, let me know what you thought of the game at launch. If you started the game at launch and then left it and were like, yeah, there's no way in hell I'm going to go back to this, it's boring, try it again now, especially after this mega patch that they dropped, which basically fixed all the technical aspects of the game, and now it runs beautifully. And if you haven't played this game but played any of the technical tests and demo, I think you can still download the demo and play it. In fact, your progress from the demo carries over, I believe, to the full game. But if you played any of those technical tests and were turned off by what you saw, it's not that bad. And it's actually pretty fun in some parts. It's kind of a shocker. So if this is like 10 or 15 bucks, you know, in the bargain bin somewhere, actually consider picking it up. So all right, that's it for my gameplay impressions. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and all right, on to the next one.